I'm very strict with myself, sometimes too much. When I do something, I want to do it 100% with my energy, with my passion. And that's also one of my quality in terms of, I study pizza. Honestly speaking, I study pizza probably 10 hours a day.
This is the Deep in the Weeds podcast. I'm Anthony Huckstep. We've had guests right across the network talking about initiatives that bring in sustainable practices to make kitchens as close to zero waste as possible, but it remains quite the challenge. Today's guest has created zero waste bread, amongst other things, and is also a flour technician. I don't know what a flour technician is, but I'm eager to find out. Enrico Sgarbossa is a master pizza maker and the creator of Zero Waste Bread. Enrico, how are you?
Very good, thank you. Thank you for having me here. And it's a fantastic opportunity for me to introduce myself. And thank you again for having me here and your amazing podcast.
Well, we love to hear that. It's great to get you here. You've done fascinating things in your life, which we're going to dive into. Flour technician is not something that I know about. Tell us a little bit about what that is.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So first of all, flour in terms of flour for baking, because many times people ask me, flour technician, what is about? So is the not flowers, but flour for baking. All the time people ask, wow, you're a flour technician. I never heard about it. So now, flour technician essentially is in every single flour mill in Italy and across Europe. There are technical people that basically test the flour before they go onto the market. And also, basically, we develop, test, and structure the recipe then goes along with the flour that the flour mill produce. So our job essentially is to test all the flour, create a recipe, and after that support the pizza maker by teaching them the best outcome with the flour. So that is essentially the job, basically teaching pizza maker how to make pizza.
Well, what are you looking at to sort of make sure flour is that sort of top level? What's some of the things that you see along the way that maybe doesn't allow it to make the grade?
So first of all is the incorrect use, of course, of the flour, the timing and respect of the fermentation point of view, along with also the cooking, the stretching. So flour, yes, is the base of the foundation of making a good pizza, but also is important all the other aspect of how you stretch, how you top it up, and how you cook it. Is essentially having, for example, a very good quality pasta, but cook it in a wrong way, or too much sauce, or too overcooked or undercooked. So the flour is the base, the foundation. Be able to know how the flour react with certain time of hour fermentation and hydration. It help the pizza maker to basically do the right things, and that's where we there for.
You're renowned for winning awards all around the place, Italy and Australia, with your pizza making. What sort of started first for you? Was it the world of pizza or was it the world of flour?
So the word of let's say the pizza first, as in Australia for the visa purpose there is no such a visa to be able to stay here in Australia with as a flour technician. So I have to twist into more pizza making point of view to be able to stay here in Australia, and I love it. I also love making pizza, so let's say I'm a little bit of hybrid. I do both, but usually flour technician, they just work in a flour mill. They're not really physically pizza maker.
I want to dive into sort of the pizza world and your time back in Italy before you came to Australia. But in the intro, I mentioned zero waste bread. Tell us about that creation and how you get to zero waste bread.
Yeah, so I'm very attached and aware of the food waste. My passion and my when I teaching people, I always try to be mindful of don't waste food, and that's what we do at home. That's what I learn on the way how important is our planet. That's probably with the maturing as a human being. And by consulting basically every week, I realized how much pizza dough it was wasted, and most of the answer from people is, yeah, just flour and water. But it's not just that, because pizza scraps, when you finish the service, let's say the leftover sourdough base or the pizza dough is basically over fermented, and some people really throw on the bin. And imagine a pizzeria when they do 400-500 pizza a night is a lot of dough, or you have a quiet night. So it goes into general bin. It doesn't go into a compost. So when you see that as a person, then love food and respect food, respect small producer, respect the hard work behind who growing the grain and so on. I say to myself, I need to find a way to be able to help somehow to reduce the waste, to do something good for the community, for the pizza maker. So I start to work a little bit on the lab with the pizza scraps, and I created this basically way to refresh those pizza scraps. Then basically they are there for days and retwisted into a beautiful loaf, a baguette, a sourdough loaf, breadcrumb for the arancini, pasta as well. So basically, is adapt what we have left over into something new, giving a new life, especially in something that is extremely quality afterward. The bread that is being making from the pizza scraps, you cannot tell, and also the taste, is something unique. And I do also to give an idea to the hospitality in general, no? Not only the pizza maker. Then the chef can pick up this idea and twist it into the everyday work. Because we are the middle between the farmer, we are the middle of between the people, the consumer. So we have a lot of responsibility in our shoulder, and we can really twist this into a more mindful eating for everyone. Recycle, make an effort to don't waste food, but reuse it in a certain way into the kitchen. Something that we should all do it. That's my point of view.
When you sort of explored this world, dough is very affected by temperature, and also it's a live product as well. Were there complications and challenges in creating a really good bread based on the sort of leftovers as such?
Yeah, yeah, you're right. Basically, the most challenge is when it's getting over acidic. So you need to refresh it also with some flour, fresh flour. So basically, it's a combination of both things to be able to, don't have it that over acidic point of view where in the oven doesn't spring anymore, or the taste is slightly too sour. So it's just to find the right balance between the amount of pizza scrap do you have, retwist it into a recipe. So it's a slightly dynamic things, but work it out with a little bit of flour malt, a little bit of fresh yeast to be able to structure a beautiful dough as a normal sourdough loaf, basically.
You've been slinging pizzas in South Australia recently. Tell us a little bit about what you've been doing there.
So I've been doing pizza more farm to table. That's my concept with what I'm doing here in South Australia. So I am in a winery around the Adelaide Hills, where I basically have a biodynamic farm next door. So everything then is in season there. I put into my menu, very short menu, 6-7 pizza only, and only seasonal and kilometer zero, as we say in Italy. So all the producers come from maximum of 20-30 kilometer, from basically from the city to the hills. So like this give me an opportunity to work with small producer, to give back to community, and to teach people where supporting small local industry is essential in 2025. We need to also consider that small businesses, especially around South Australia, where there is a lot of small farm, are the engine of the economy around here. So we really need to be mindful and help them as much as we can as a chef. And that's what I love about South Australia.
Are there challenges sort of keeping pizzas traditional, but also very, very seasonal and local, given that you're in South Australia as well? Do you have an example or two of a pizza that sort of exemplifies what you're doing in that sense?
Yeah, look, for example, at today we have a lot of basil in season. We have, there is a lot of things that is in season right now because it's summer. So a capsicum, local feta, and a slow cook onion is something that is really basic, but in a way then a very good small few element together. And something that is, extremely local because it's next door, or using salt bush basically as a pesto. Then it's something that is really local. While it's timing for pressing the wine on the winery, use the juice into a dough for bread. So just incorporate as much as possible local produce to be able to outline the goodness that we have here in South Australia.
I want to explore pizza and the world of no waste bread a little bit more shortly. Take us back to when you were young in Italy. Where did you grow up, and what sort of role did food play for you?
So basically, I grew up in Bassano del Grappa. It's a small city between Verona and Venice. We are quite well known for grappa, Bassano del Grappa. So Nardini grappa, Poli grappa. We're famous for that. We're quite famous for radicchio, asparagus, white asparagus. So it's a 55,000 people city, but we are quite well known around the world for few key products. Valdobbiadene with the prosecco. So we are quite a few good product there. Uh, as as I say, it sound very usual Italian, but my mom, my grandma, they're very good cook, amazing, not chef, but home cook. I always passionate about food. Initially, he attracted me a lot, fire and pizza. We used to go every Friday to this pizzeria, local pizzeria, and always want to have the table in front of the wood fire oven. It really kind of have me there, play with the fire, and be able to see those pizza stretching. After that, we become cooked and we eat it. So it was something like really that always resonate with me. But my actually background is a professional sport player. So I was playing, yeah, I was playing hockey professionally in Italy until, unfortunately, hockey is a minor sport. It was sponsored by small businesses, and around the year 2000 in Europe we have a big crisis, and a lot of sponsor was withdrawing money for playing hockey. In that time, unfortunately, my family divorced, so I have to help home, and I need to find more stable work. So my auntie owned a pizzeria close to the hills in Bassano, and I used to go there and help in like many other people does during the summer holiday, and I really become passionate about that. And that's when, unfortunately, myself, or fortunately, with the career that I have afterward, I have to take a decision. And sport, it wasn't the first priority anymore, even though I play professionally since I was 14, and I had basically all my career in front of me. Then I could bet on it, but like I say, different situation, they really let me change completely and don't look back on the sport anymore. And that's basically how we start to diving into the pizza industry.
Being a professional sports person takes an incredible amount of discipline. Is that something that you've taken sort of into the world of food as well for yourself?
Yeah, I'm very, yes, correct. Like I'm very strict with myself, sometimes too much. When I do something, I want to do it 100% with my energy, with my passion. And that's also one of my quality in terms of, I study pizza. Honestly speaking, I study pizza probably 10 hours a day, watching videos. And back then, 15 years ago, it was another world. Internet was just started, like iPhone was just coming out. There was not many pizza books. So gain information back then was much more harder than what is today. I spend a lot of money in pizza courses. And, so whatever I do, I try to do as best as possible. And that's coming from a discipline, probably for sport, to put yourself 100% on what you're doing.
You mentioned you worked at your auntie's pizzeria. Take us back to that time. Do you have any stories that really stand out for you from that period of time that had an impact on you?
Yeah, basically, my until, let's say, he in Italy, you go in, you start to work at 7:30 p.m. No one go to eat, for dinner before that. And on the beginning, it was just, come here at 9 p.m. And from leaving home and go there at 9 p.m. and say, what do I come to do at 9 p.m. because it's slightly late. So on the beginning, I was just go there and watching, helping a little bit of stretching. So in Italy, you have this particular way where people is very still jealous about their position. So, for example, you start by stretching and you just do that for probably years. After that, they put you in the toppings and you stay there for another years and so. And after that, you move into the oven. Then is the hardest part, and you stay there for years. So they are very systematic point of view. For me, I always have this challenge in myself. Then I want to be good. I want to do it. I want to learn fast. So I was arriving there, and I was actually asked, "Look, can I make pizza for the staff?" So basically, I was stretching. I was just a rookie back then, but he saw the capability that I have and how fast I was apprehended, and he said, "You know what? Just do all the pizza for the staff." So he really let me do and help me to gain more skills easier, because he understood and I had skills on it. And that's something that, I remember clearly than other guys that were there for years. They were looking at me and say, we just stretching pizza for the last 3 years, and I say, why you never even ask? I say, because this is like this. So those kids back then, we were kids, they didn't even do it for a future. They was just doing for a second job, and they didn't really put any effort on it to even ask if they could do something more. But me, I arrived there and said, look, I want to do it, I like it, and I want to do 100%. So I was actually keep asking to do more and more, and that's something that it really resonated. Also, the person that showed me say, wow, you're very good at, even that you just started. And that's when I understood that that's what I want to do for a living. That's really sparks on me the way then I could do this in a good way, better than most of the people probably that was doing back then.
Well, how did you sort of you ended up getting to a level where you won best pizza in Europe, Gambero Rosso, multiple awards. The road to that sort of time in your life, what were sort of really important moments or people that you worked with that helped you get to that level?
So basically, on 2014, when I won the Giro Pizza d'Europa, and it's still on the same point as before. Like, I really love what I was doing. I was really put myself on it, and I was really also looking into more the kitchen point of view. Instead to make also classic pizza, I want to do something different. I want to use local ingredient from my hometown. So that's really something that see a differentiation back then compared to the classic Italian pizza. When I won that, he opened for me doors that I could imagine. So work for flour mills means then you have access to the best trainer, the best coach, the best baker in the world, and that's when I really did a big step up on knowledge. When you start to work with professional baker and people that teach schools, you really start to gain real information, real knowledge about flour and pizza. And all the situation, then I was gaining a lot of information about dough. I was want to doing something new, about something different, something that there wasn't many like used to do before. Like in Italy, all the pizzeria, they still have like 100 pizza, 150 pizza on the menu. But my point was, no, I want to do something different. And the differentiation that time on when I opened my restaurant was 7 pizza only, and having a chef do the topping instead me. So the chef as a looking as a concept of cooking, then is basically, of course, much more skilled than a pizza maker. So the essential part for me is always the balance on the pizza, and the chef could give me that idea of balance when you bite the pizza, having an emotion behind, and that was one of the first pizzeria in the world actually that was doing something like that on 2016. And that's when Gamboro Rosso really, they say, wow, this is something unique. And that's when also the quite famous chef Massimo Bottura really liked the idea when I shared with him, and that's when he basically did a good promotion of myself by, tip me off with the media in Sydney, because he saw something different, something new, something authentic, and that's what I try to be all the time. I try to be myself, authentic, not a copy of a copy, let's say.
During that period of time in Italy when you were exploring, the 7 pizzas on a menu, was there a signature pizza or one that sort of really spoke of that sort of connection that you had with the chef and the creation?
Yeah, absolutely. So as a crazy pizza, we did a lot. We did, the burger that want to be a pizza. So basically, it was a pizza burger. And a crazy story, there was, Shia LaBeouf, the famous actor that did Transformer. He came into a pizzeria. Basically kick him out. I say, no, we don't have a table. Come back in 4 minutes. He actually come back. People beside me say, are you crazy? Did you know who you just sent away? And I say, no, because he had the beer. I didn't really recognize it. We were busy that night. And he came back after 45 minutes waiting for his table. And basically he eat that pizza. It was basically a burger pizza. So the chef created like a proper burger, but this structure into basically the topping of a pizza. And this guy basically stand up and come to me and the chef say, "Wow, guys, this is something I never try in my life. Something completely out of blowing mind." And this was something that we're really pleased to hear. Another pizza was ossobuco on the pizza. So the chef create ossobuco alla milanese. We make a base of overcooked risotto with saffron. We mash it into a cream, and that was the base of the pizza. And on top, we slow cook the ossobuco with the gremolata on top. So basically, that's all the stuff that we were doing, something quite unique, and that's why we become very popular among chefs. It was every Monday, Tuesday was basically chef night into the restaurant.
How did you end up in Australia?
And up in Australia, because the partner that I have back then, the girlfriend I have back then, we want to have an experience. Like I say, I have to cut completely the sport. And I think something then I was as a teenager, it wasn't an easy situation where I want to just, have a break and completely chop off the sport point of view, because of course I was still hurt the fact that, you play hockey twice a day for all your life, and after suddenly you need to find a proper job where you is completely life changing. So we have a friend in Australia that was, keep asking, you have to come here because it's a great country with great opportunity. And we are talking about 2009. So, there was 3 pizzeria in Sydney in 2009, basically, it was everything to build up. And I think mentally as a teenager, it was okay, let's go as far as possible because I want to accept the challenge. I always thought that, have many people that was going to England back then and they were coming back after 2 months because it's, right there. Basically, you take Ryanair, you come back. To Australia is an investment of money and also an investment of courage, I can say. So be able to be on the other side of the world by yourself, it really is a challenge. And I always respect people then, pick up their luggage and coming across and try to do a better life here. So a mix of feeling a situation let us end up here in Australia. And since then, I'm still here.
Well, tell us about your time in Australia. What's sort of been the key sort of venues and sort of moments that you've had, because you've won accolades here as well.
Yeah. So, as you know, as a backpackers, on the beginning, the focus was the visa. On 2009 and 10, the best pizzeria that was in Sydney, Pizza Birra, Da Mario, there was just few, Lucio. I basically work in all of them, Vacanza Pizzeria. So I basically work with all the best spot. Uh, I had opportunity to open my own, but after that, I need a sponsor visa. So I end up in Bellevue Hill. It was a new opening of like a cafeteria, but in the end, it was a pizzeria on nighttime. And I stayed there for 5 years because I have to, apply my sponsorship. So I end up staying there. And as soon as I received my permanent resident, basically, I was looking for my own spot. So typical Italian or European person, foreign person, then come to Australia and want to stay. Unfortunately, I can say you don't have too much choice of where you want to end up. You looking for the sponsor visa. Sometimes it is hard because back then, especially as you know, into the hospitality business, a lot of hours, fixed salary, and so on. So it was a big challenge. You always kind of hang in a thread where you never know what's going on. You still depending on a visa. So mentally it's not easy, to be honest. You still feel like a backpacker until you get your permanent resident, basically. So it's always unknown what can happen tomorrow. Rules can change. They might refuse the visa, so you live constantly in this fear of they might kick me out of the country. And that's something then is remarkable, but it's also was a growing point of view as a human being.
What was it about Australia that made you want to stay here and create a life here?
I think the one of the reason is the opportunity where, realistically speaking, there is none in any other country in the world. The life that we live here is very fortunate. We have we don't realize until that you live in Europe, especially those days, how much lucky we are to be here in Australia and to be able to sustain a life, plenty of work everywhere. You can really change career, in a matter of years or hours. Sometimes find the right spot for you with another industry. I think you see the opportunity, and I'm grateful. Then they with the hard work and with the right things, you can stay, and that's something that I appreciate. And mostly it's the opportunity. Of course, it's a beautiful spot. He has a little bit of everything in terms of nature and cities. I felt like then it was the right choice to stay for a better future.
What lured you to South Australia?
This is South Australia because when I had my restaurant in Sydney, I burned out. I struggled a lot the last couple of years when the spot was actually very busy. On the beginning, we suffered a lot the first year and a half, because you have skills, but there was no people. The pizza that I just told you before, they were not appreciated by the public. There was only chef, three head chefs there eating every Monday, and not people on it. So I suffer a lot about that, as in Italy they will recognize my skills, gambero rosso and everything, but normal people wasn't ready for my type of pizza, my style of pizza. And that's have a big impact on the first year or so. Arrived, as you know, 14, 15, 16 hours a day, every day inside a four wall. And I arrived to the point where I was looking myself in the mirror at 27 years old. I have few dollars safe as the business was going good, but I wasn't happy. And after that, I say, okay, what's going on here? I wish all my life to have a restaurant. And after that, I had the restaurant, but I wasn't happy because I have no time for anything, for family, for friends, for nothing, just working there every single day. And so we were looking, okay, we need to change. I sold the restaurant 2020 before COVID. Didn't know that it was happening. And I stick into a one bedroom apartment during lockdown, and I say that's not what I want to do. I don't want to stick in a one bedroom apartment where I come from, on a hill place with a lot of nature. I really want to live in nature. So I randomly came to Adelaide for a trip, so a few days. And as soon as I land to Adelaide, I really felt like home. I feel like, wow, this is the spot where I want to live. There is beach, there is hills, there is winery, there is everything that I love. And that's when I say, I have nothing to lose in Sydney. I did my best, and I was looking for more space, for more nature, something that resonates more with me as well.
Well, during your time in South Australia, you've been recognised by the slow food movement. I know you've had all sorts of accolades in Italy and Australia, but what impact has that had on you?
Is an impact for me is probably one of the best award recognition I can say, because I deeply think that is an important thing to have in Italy. Huck, in Italy, when you see the stickers of slow food in any restaurant, and they, proudly they stick out of the restaurant, you see that you go in there and the people is pay well, the food is honest, the food is from a fair trade, and is a clean, good food. So that is the impact that has slow food in Italy and in Europe. So for me to be part of being recognized or educating people to learn about slow food is something that is fantastic, So that's what slow food means. Slow food means we want to have an opportunity to talk with producer, to stay with producer, to help them. They help us quality ingredient, quality food into a plate. Can be a pizza, can be a pasta, can be a dish, anything. And in South Australia, like I said before, there is this everywhere. There is small businesses everywhere, small farms, small producers, that you can really go there and talk with the owner all the time. And that's what for me is so important. Also, the zero waste concept is really paired with the slow food. Is a mentality that you have to have. So it's an education point of view, as I teach in pizza for living. I love teaching, I love sharing. So I think I really feel the connection with the slow food movement as I'm part of it. And that's something that I really enjoy to and proud to be on the slow food movement.
A little earlier on, you mentioned about the connection that you have with local producers and that you work with them on the menu. Can you tell us about one or two of them that you've connected with and how you work together?
Yeah, no, absolutely. So, my not my favorite, one of my, let's say, favorite people to deal to have a relationship with is Tony Scarfo. So Tony is an Italian, old Italian background person. So he has a biodynamic organic farm, and it's actually next door where I am. I can actually walk through his gate and pick up the stuff. Uh, uh, you go in and you clearly see his passion at 70 plus years old. He's there every single day, and no pesticide, nothing. Everything is completely natural. And you can see the veggie kind of, you shocked to see how good the veggie look like, just treated with love and with skills, without using pesticides, without using anything. And that's something that I always blow my mind when I go there and pick it up stuff, because aside of the taste, he really put his art 100% every day. Like, he always remind me of my grandmother. Then he have a big orto, big, a little farm on the backyard in Italy. So you really feel that connection. And the second is La Vera Cheese. So La Vera Cheese is an Italian family that own a cheese factory. I can tell you that the Fior di Latte cheese is probably best than even in Italy, in most of the place. It's a fantastic product. Really, they are 20 kilometers from where I live, and they do few cheeses. They do extremely good. I just met another producer. They do sheep cheese. They do from goat cheese, but in a way they do, gorgonzola from goat, and pecorino from the goat pecorino. Like, it's fantastic. And when I spoke with these people, and you really start to understand what does that look like, and feel like having a connection with those people, then every day send you fantastic produce, and they are in a small scale.
Now, Enrico, this is somewhat of a selfish question. I'd like to make pizza myself at home with not as much success as I would like. I'm pretty competent in other areas, but it's a sort of area that I'm not as skilled as I'd like to be. What sort of tips can you share about creating the best dough and making the best pizza?
Yeah. Okay. So the tips is always having it sound very simple, but use common sense in sense of in a warm day. Of course, the amount of yeast will be reduced a little bit. In a cold day, you need a little bit more push to be able to structure the fermentation point of view. The flour. Quickly speaking, more protein has the flour, more longer we hold the fermentation point of view. So high protein flour will develop a more strong gluten, means then the net that you have will hold more gas. Okay. Also, a stronger or high protein flour will hold more water naturally. So 90% of the people, when they do the dough or good pizza at home, they do the dough probably right. The problem is the cooking. So first, you need to have an oven that can reach more than 350 degree, and that's the first problem. Then people, if you don't reach that kind of hotness, it might be too flat. It doesn't push. It cooking too long. So that's one of the most common failure of people. And second, when you basically gonna stretch the pizza, put it nicely into the oven, and make sure that if you use on a high hydration, so you put a lot of water into the dough, somehow has to go out by turning often into the oven and make sure that the steam goes out when you're cooking. So actually, in this case, the cooking for home baker is much more a trick rather than make the dough itself, because the dough itself, like I say, 1 kilo flour, 650 ml of water, a few grams of yeast, and 25 grams of salt. This is a basic recipe that work perfectly all the time. The problem is after that, when you make the bowl, and the cooking is the main problem with home bakers. So if you looking more into the baking point of view, you will see then by changing slightly the baking technique, you will have much more better outcome.
That's some amazing advice. I was taking notes the whole time. You've had an incredible impact in Italy and in Australia since you've been here. But what is it that you love about what you do?
I love, so it's a little bit of course, let's say, because I love extremely what I'm doing. Sometimes it's very hard to be understood as there is not enough knowledge around in Australia in general on pizza, and there is not enough, let's say, interest by media on develop more skills into the pizza things. So I've been consulting since 2014. I consult all over Australia, hundreds of pizza maker, every single year. But still, you can see that the level is still low because also media they don't give enough opportunity to explain, to show, to like having a list of the 10 best pizza. It doesn't really grow in the skills of people, so we need more space to teach people, to teach pizza maker to invest on something. So I love about teaching and sharing knowledge and uplift the skills. As I started to do sourdough pizza in 2014, no one was doing it. I help the pizza industry to arrive where we are at today, without any ego point of view, but it's the reality. But in the same token, you never get a great reward from media, local media, especially in Australia. Yeah, I have sometimes had much more connection than the people in Italy. Media in Italy is more interesting what I'm doing here rather than people here interested what I'm doing. And that's something that, like I say, is not course, but is when you are a pioneer, when you are something that start something. Unfortunately, you never might be appreciated until all the people start to understand what it is.
Well, Enrico, very much appreciate you sharing your knowledge and time today and look forward to seeing what you do next. So please keep in touch and catch up again soon.
No, thank you very much, Anthony. Really appreciate the time, and I was really grateful to have people like you, because people like you are the people that spread the voice. giving a voice to chefs, because we all have interesting story. We all see what we see in the social media, but we don't see the reality of the situation behind the scene, how we feel, how's the truly understanding behind the food scene. So having people willing to talk, and have you and all your colleagues that does podcast and be able to give us a voice is fundamental on
Thanks,
this point in
Enrico.
time.
This is the Deep in the Weeds podcast. I'm Anthony Huckstep. Stay tuned as we take a deep dive into the lives of the incredible people who ply their trade in the food and hospitality sector. Special thanks to executive producer Rob Locke for making this all happen. Follow us on Instagram at Deep in the Weeds Podcast, or email us at podcast@deepintheweeds.com.au. Stay safe and be well.